Hello there. Welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and I'm so glad you're here tonight for a super simple layout that's all about the story. I've been getting some requests lately for a couple different things, super simple layouts that can tell the story, that can also do a little bit of stash busting. So here we have the Melon Mania, which is actually still available on the shop site, but many of my paper crafters have it in their stash. I never did get to finish a workshop with it, and I'm hoping to, but I'm actually just going to do a single page layout with it tonight, not part of a workshop. I did this beautiful focal single page for our granddaughter Claire Adeline with some tiering, and I did use the Melon Mania stamp set. Now I don't believe the Melon Mania stamp set is still available. I know most of my paper crafters purchased that, but I did do some stamping and some fussy cutting of some of those pieces. Now these simple leaves are my to die for leaves. They're some of my most favorite leaves, and they have the layered inserts of the leaves, and so you can cut the outer leaves, and there's also a stamp set that you can do tone on tone stamping. And then I actually cut the inner portion of those leaves out in glitter paper. I used Melon Glitter Paper and Melon Ink on mine, and I don't believe we have the Melon Glitter Paper anymore, but we do have the Melon cardstock. And then we also have a lot of the Melon bling, the flowers, the pearls, and the loose sequins. So this is my mama. She is up in heaven. She's been in heaven for a long time, but she had fiery red hair, thick and beautiful and wavy, and she did tons of things. She actually even wore wigs, she did rollers, she did perms. I did layouts before about my mother's hair, and I actually have a layout that has her real hair from her first haircut. It is long and thick and red. Well, I have this gadget, I think it's called Plush Silks, and it reminded me of the old rag rolling. It's super soft. You put it on the top of your head with a clip, and then you wrap strands of your hair around it. And if it's damp when you do it, you wait several hours or a day. You can even sleep on it, and ringlet curls come out. And I have the most stick straight hair you could ever possibly get. So I tried this, what I call a rag roll, and then it gives me ringlets. But with my really long hair, it still ends up just being wavy, but I'm happy with wavy. I always was envious of those girls with the curls. And of course, everyone that has curls wants straight hair. And I know people that spend hours upon hours straightening their hair, but I wrote the story and I just said that I've always had the straightest of straight hair. My mother Georgine was blessed with the thickest hair, and it had quite a bit of natural wave to it, but not me. I have the length and I was born with the thickness, but I lacked the curls. I was always envious of the girls with the curls, and over the years we rag rolled our hair. We rolled it up in curlers. We sat for hours and hours for very bad home perms, and some even used orange juice cans and rolled up their hair in them for large curls and waves. The rag rolling technique was actually from the 1920s, from the era of Shirley Temple, but mom would rip rags, and lots of the mothers would do this, and they would roll your strands of hair up in the rags and then tie the ends, and it was really soft and you could sleep in it, and it wasn't so hard on your head like big curlers, especially the curlers from the 70s. They hurt your head so badly. So I have on this brown outfit, and I was actually getting ready for my grandson's band concert, and I thought that I would rag roll my hair, and so I have kind of this fallish looking outfit on, even though it's winter here right now. We have no snow, which is highly unusual for us, so I just was wearing a sweater and a vest that has some browns, and I was worried about Melon Mania clashing with that brown and how to tie the brown in, and it actually ended up going perfectly. So the first thing that I wanted to do is give those photos a sequence. So I sort of went height. So I don't know why, but in the photos, it looks like I'm a little down lower, and then it's kind of medium, and then I'm up a little higher, because what I did on my photo mate is I sort of stretched my photos to be that way. So they would go from higher to lower, and then it starts with me in the rag roll, taking out the rag roll, and then the finished product. So I made my photos 3.5 by 5, and I can do odd size photos on my picture mate. You can just simply crop them, or if you have a different photo printer that you use at home. So I put them on the white daisy, which is actually 5 1/4 by 10 7/8, and just to have a tiny little bit of space through it. And then I wanted them on the Melon Mania floral, and that piece ended up being, let's see, 6.5 by 11 1/4. And then I did a frame in the back that is gutted of that gorgeous Melon Mania gingham. And I cut the frame at 1 inch. So it's a 12 by 12 piece, and I cut from 1 inch to 12 inches all the way around to make that gutted frame. And then I wanted to use the Melon Mania coordinating cardstock. It has a little bit of a UV coating in it, and I made that 10.5 by 10.5 in the background. But in all actuality, you really only need about 1 3/4 inch at the top and the bottom. That's all that shows. I just used the whole piece because otherwise I would have to back it with a whole piece of white daisy, but you could actually save a lot of that really beautiful pattern paper. So my idea was to have sort of a title and then a subtitle. And so I actually pulled out the wood grain titles. We have our titles in our Essentials Core catalog now in all colors. So we have black, we have wood grain, and we have some other colors. And they're the same words, but they're in different titles. So I love using my Versamat and using my long ruler. So you can use a T ruler that goes all the way across, and it really helps you with individual letters, whether you've cut those letters out yourself or whether they're foam letters or whether they're letters off of our titles. By using that Versamat and running your ruler across, it really helps you keep those titles straight. Now, I made that shortbread piece 3.5 by 12, and the reason for pulling the shortbread in was my vanity in my bathroom is somewhat of a shortbread color, and I'm taking selfies there. I never have anyone to take my photo. And I never like doing layouts about myself. It never seems exciting, and it's always a little awkward, but I noticed people doing a lot of "this is me" layouts lately. And I love the layouts about my mom, and I have a feeling that my children might appreciate someday some layouts, a few at least, about me and my grandkids for sure. My daughter really curls my grandkids' hair and my granddaughter's hair in ringlets all over with a curling iron. It takes so long. It's incredible. It's beautiful. But oh my goodness, that hot iron. I'm going to have to turn her on to the rag rolling. So I've made a little subtitle with the sticker off of the sticker sheet called Simply the Best. And then even yet another subtitle with Here's the Story. So here are those simple leaves, and they truly are simple. You just simply die cut the base of the leaves, die cut the inner pieces of the leaves, and glue them together. And on some of those, I did stamp the shading tone on tone only on the melon cardstock. So what I did with the melon cardstock is I stamped melon on top. Totally not necessary, but again, those simple leaves, I can't even believe that they're still available. I have used and used and used them, and every time I go to use them, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be in trouble because they're not going to be available anymore. And they must have gotten a stockpile because they're such a staple. I swoon for leaves. every year when our new leaves come out, I say, I'm not buying any more leaves. I have so many beautiful leaves, but I can't help myself because they're all so different in different ways. And now, especially, we have layered leaves and stenciled leaves and just so many pretty leaves. But let me show you here how these work. So they have the outer thin cut, and you run that through your die cutter. And then they have the inner veins of the leaves. So clever. And there's all different shapes and sizes, but they actually match up to each other. So you could actually just use those inner veins of those leaves as sprigs. That's really pretty. Or you can use the outer leaves by themselves, or you can combine them for the most beautiful leaves ever. So I really wanted to keep this so simple and about the story. I mean, even more simple than my Simply Scrappin'. I wanted to add to my simple pages for beginners on my YouTube channel because I don't have too many that are in there, and I've gotten a lot of interest in simple and easy to put together pages where you can just grab things from your stash. You wouldn't need to do Melon Mania if you don't have any Melon Mania. This is simply some pattern papers paired with those leaves. If you have some leftover embellishments, leftover stickers, you could totally create a little larger title up top, a little subtitle in the middle, and a subtitle. I don't know if there's a word for that. But a subtitle on the bottom with "Here's the story." All I did to get the story is I typed in my Word document and kind of guesstimated. I picked a font in Word. I use Microsoft Word all the time that I really, really liked. And then I printed it on a little piece of cardstock and cut it out. And I think, I love using my own handwriting a lot of the time, but because I had a lot to say, I wanted to type it so I could use a tinier font. I have really large handwriting. Even when I try not to, my handwriting is quite large. And so that is one of the reasons that I sometimes will type. I do love my mother's handwriting. I love to read her handwriting. I know that it's important for me to use my handwriting as well. So I'm trying to make a little cluster to the left of the title, a little cluster to the right of the title, and then a little cluster up there in the top right. It kind of flat it has symmetry on the bottom, but then it does still have that visual triangle to draw your eye up and across those 3 photos. I contemplated adding a little something to the left of memories, but this is about quick and simple. I just wanted the 3 little clusters and then to add some little embellishments. And I love, thinking about all the things with hair. I should do a layout of, we had like mushroom haircuts and bobs. We had shags and mullets. We had, oh my God, the perms. The perms were horrible. And one thing I do love about rag rolling is it's so soft to sleep in, but I sat for hours while my mom literally fried my hair with home perms. They were so bad. Usually your hair was like almost all fried. In fact, there was a couple times that it literally did just fry off my hair, and they stunk so bad and they burned. They were horrible. But those hard rollers too that were so popular in the 70s, having to sleep in those, and my mom would tie like a scarf or even a plastic bag. I don't know if we had plastic bags or where the bags came from, but I remember it being kind of plastic with elastic, like a rubber cap kind of. I think it was the cap that came with the hair dryer. I think that went around and then the heat would be inside somehow. I don't quite remember that. I wish I had pictures of all the things that she did to my hair. And then the tight ponytails. The ponytails and the pigtails were so tight that it hurt the top of my bangs so bad. But it's so funny. I'm going to have to pull out some of those hairstyles and then maybe do a layout on hairstyles over time. Now, my girlfriends and I used teeny tiny curling iron rods that were so hot that they also fried our hair. And we used Aquanet. And it was so so bad. And we ratted it and curled it in tiny curls and then ratted them up and sprayed it with Aquanet. Oh my word, we were horrible. And then it seems like well, I went through some health issues and some surgery, and I lost all my hair in the early 2000s. And then when it came back, it was real nappy and it was like chick fuzz. And I thought, I'm going to get curly hair when it comes back. And only about 80% of my hair came back. I had very, very thick hair like my mother. And so it's a lot thinner than it used to be. It's still thick because it was probably too thick. But now I'm just working on these little stickers here, adding a few little stickers, keeping it super, super simple. There's these really cute kind of like stickers on the sticker sheet that look like washi tape. There's a little heart one, and there's a little pattern one, and there's all these little checkered hearts and different types of hearts that I think are going to work great. I'm trying to use the little journaling bubble, but I find that it doesn't really work. But yeah, so anyway, I'm really thinking at 57 years old, I'm going back to my childhood and thinking about some of these things. And this little plush tube roll really made me think about that. And my grandkids have seen me put it in, and they always ask about that. And I thought, well, this will be one thing for 2023 that will be something that in 10 years or 20 years, when my grandkids are older, they may not have known about. And then they certainly wouldn't know about rolling your hair up. I have a paper crafter out there that rolled her hair up in juice cans, and I talked to her about she needs to do a layout about that. And we need to get more comfortable about doing layouts about ourselves and telling our stories that way. I've done a lot of that for my mother and for my children and for my grandchildren, but I don't do it enough for my own self. And as I get older, I think that it's super important to tell those stories. So now I've used some of the melon flowers, which are still available as well. Now, melon, I forgot to say, was our color of the year last year. Journey is our gorgeous color of the year this year, and I did do a monochromatic layout, one of the only other layouts that I've ever done about myself in Journey. I'll link that in the description, and you can check that out. There's a lot of technique in that one and a little bit of distressing. Now, I pulled my Bitty Sparkles out because there was something missing in the center of those melon dots, and there's a perfect little, or those melon flowers, and there's a perfect little dent inside those flowers that a gem fits in perfectly. And I feel like that just did it. It still was so simple, done in no time. This is one of those layouts that you could just whip together. Probably cutting the thin cuts is what would take the most time, but I think there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 leaves, maybe 9 leaves at the most. So it would be quick and easy, and I'm happy. So simple. There you go. One for my simple scrappers out there that just love to have the inspiration and be able to reduplicate it on the spot with things from their stash. You can check out the supply list in the description, and I'll also link the other monochromatic simple layout that I did up in the description as well. I hope you enjoyed the trip down the memory lane of hair. Happy scrapping, everyone, and we'll see you on the next video from Snips by Kelly. Bye-bye.